Welcome to our video lesson on how to solve our nutritional information problem using rates in real-world situations. Okay, the question says, if Miss Fortune weighs 150 pounds, how many minutes of weight training would it take Miss Fortune to burn off a Big Mac, which is 550 calories? Okay, we can start by cubing it. So I'm going to circle 150 pounds, 550 calories. And then underline important math words. And important math words would be how many. And that looks like it's it. So then we box the question. And we are ready to get started. The first thing we're going to do is we know how many calories people burn per pound in 1 minute of weight training. And that is 39 thousandths of a calorie per pound. Now remember, because it depends on your weight, everybody's amount of calories they burn will be different. So if you burn 39 thousandths of a calorie per pound, the two rates we can set up is we know that Miss Fortune weighs 150 pounds. And we need to figure out how many calories she would burn in 1 minute of exercise. So to go from 1 pound to 150 pounds, I'm multiplying by 150. Whatever I did to the denominator, I will do the same thing at the top to the numerator. So now I'm going to multiply 0 and 39 thousandths times 150. So 0 times 9 is 0, 0 times 3 is 0, that whole line is going to be 0. So I'm just going to skip to the next number, and I'll put my ghost 0 here. 5 times 4 is 45. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 4 is 19. Then I add 2 ghost zeros, because now I'm going on to the 1. 1 times 9 is 9, and 1 times 3 is 3. Then I add them together. 0 and 0 is 0. 5 plus 0 is 5. 9 plus 9 is 18. 3 plus 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Then I need to add my decimal, and I do that by counting the number of decimal places in my factors. I have 3 decimal places in my factors, so I'm going to add 3 to my answer. And that tells us that in 1 minute of weight training, Miss Fortune burns 5 and 85 hundredths calories. Okay, so now we know how many calories Miss Fortune burns in 1 minute of exercise. But that's not what our question's asking. It's asking how many minutes of weight training would it take Miss Fortune to burn off a Big Mac of 550 calories. So our ratio that we're going to, our next rate that we're going to use is we want to figure out minutes for 550 calories. So if I know that Miss Fortune burns 5 and 85 hundredths of a calorie in 1 minute, I can set up my next ratio. Now I need to go from 5 and 85 calories to 500 calories, and this is the challenging part. In previous rates, we multiplied 1 times 150 to make it 150. Well, here we have to figure out what times 5 and 85 hundredths would take us to 500. And to do that, we divide 500 by 5 and 85 hundredths. I'm going to do that on the next page so I have enough space. So here we'll have 500 divided by 5 and 85 hundredths. The first thing I do when I have decimals in my dividend is I move them over 1, 2 to get rid of it. And if I do it on the outside, I have to do the same thing on the inside. So here's my decimal after the 0. And I'm going to move it 2 spots, 1, 2, so that's right here. Then I fill in those spots with zeros. Okay. Over here I have 585. Can 585 go into 500? No. can 585 go into 5,000? Yes, it can go into 5,000. About how many times do you think? Well, I know that 500 times 10 would give me 5,000. So my guess would be that 585 times 9 would fit into 5,000. Let's check it over here. 585 times 9. 9 times 5 is 45. 9 times 8 is 72, plus 4 is 76. 9 times 5 is 45, plus 7 is 62. So that's way too big. So let's go down by 2 to see if it, so let's go down to 7 by 2 to see if it would fit. So we have 585 times 7. 7 times 5 is 35. 7 times 8 is 56, plus 3 is 59. 7 times 5 is 35, plus 5 is 40. I think 585 can fit one more time. So 585 times 8. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 8 is 64, plus 4 is 68. 8 times 5 is 40, plus 6 is 460. So 585 can fit into 5,000 8 times. And 8 times 585 is 4,680. Now I'm going to subtract. 0 minus 0 is 0. I can't do 0 minus 8, so I look to borrow from its neighbor, and it's a 0, so I can't do that, so I need to borrow from the 5. Then this becomes a 10, but I'm borrowing, so then it becomes a 9, and this is a 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. 9 minus 6 is 3. Then I bring down this 0. Okay, how many times do we think 585 can fit into 3,200? Well, if we look back over here, we know it definitely has to be less than 7, because 7 times 585 was 4,095. I think it's going to be about 2 less than 7. So let's see what 585 times 5 is. 5 times 5 is 25. 8 times 5 is 40, plus 2 is 42. And 5 times 5 is 25, plus 4 is 29. Now, if we think about it, we can't fit another 585 into 2,925 and still have it be less than 3,200. So that means that 5 must be our answer. So 5 times 585 is 2,925. Then I need to subtract them. I can't do 0 minus 5, so I need to borrow. I can't borrow from 0, so I borrow from this 1. This becomes 10, but we're borrowing, so then it becomes a 9, and this is 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 2 is 7. 1 minus 9 we can't do, so we borrow. It becomes 11. 11 minus 9 is 2. Now, in this situation, we're rounding to the nearest whole number. So we need to find one more, we need to find just the 10th place so that we can round properly. So I'll put a decimal up here. I'm going to add my another 0 and bring it down. Okay, we have how many times will 585 fit into 2,750? Well, I know that 585 times 5 is 2,925, so that means it must be times 4. And let's check what 585 times 4 is, just to be sure. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 8 is 32, plus 2 is 34. 4 times 5 is 20, plus 3 is 23. So this would be 2,340. Then we can do our subtraction. 0 minus 0 is 0. 5 minus 4 is 1. 7 minus 3 is 4. And we're done. Now we need to round this number to the nearest whole number. So our nearest would be to the ones place, which is right here, the 5. So we will look one spot to the right where we have a 4. Because the 4 is less than 5, to round it, we are going to keep it the same and get rid of that 4. So that means that my answer is 85. Now let's go back to our question. Our question was, what would we need to multiply 5 and 85 hundredths by to get it to be 500? And our answer is 85. So that means that on my arrow at the bottom, I am doing times 85. So I'm going to do the same thing to the numerator, and 1 times 85 is 85. Now this is 85 minutes. So that means it would take me 85 minutes to burn 85 minutes of weight training to burn the 500 calories in a Big Mac. This is what you're going to do for your celebrity and each of the different items that they're going to eat. The nice part is you only need to do this section once, because once you know how many calories they burn in a minute, you can use that for your next ratio. Okay, give it a try with your celebrities and your exercises, and if you need any help, raise your hand. I'm here to help you. Okay, I'll talk to you later.